Okay, I am not fishing this Saturday because I have got a new bug. One of the perks of being married to someone that works at the hospital is you get to experience every germ out there. So I decided to take this time and do a review video on the GoPro 10. And if you haven't bought it yet, you might want to hold off until you watch this video. So I'm just going to start by going over the GoPro 10's pros. It's the flagship GoPro, the latest and greatest supposedly. It touts a few improvements from other GoPros. First of all, it has better low light adjustment. With the 8 especially, I had some issues when I was in the mountains where if the shade of the mountain came onto the camera, it all of a sudden looked like it was night. And it's dealt with that a little bit better in this. And then the 10 has a larger battery than the 8. Same battery as the 9 actually, same size. And it should last a little bit longer according to them. And the chip in it is the big improvement. The chip is much faster. You can scroll through the back of it kind of like a cell phone. It's that quick. The 9, the 8, and the lowers are very, very slow. Kind of tricky to maneuver, but this is very fast, which is a great improvement. Now that we've spoken about the good things about this, let's talk about what I've run into. Now with, also I should mention, also with the GoPros, even the 8, not just the 9 and 10, even the 8 and 7, on their highest functions can crash a lower end computer. You really need to make sure your computer is up to snuff if you're going to be using the AVI and high functions of these units. They are very powerful. Now with all GoPros, they use a codec. The 9 and the 10 use a newer codec than the 8 and the previous versions. The codec used by the 8 and lower versions is very easy to work with, very, very light codec. The new 9 and 10 use an HEVC codec. There are several codecs out there, and there are a few good high-end codecs. HEVC is one of them. However, HEVC is the most difficult one to work with and the largest. So it's not the best choice in my opinion. In addition, certain software, editing software such as HitFilms, which I like to use, does not support HEVC codecs. So I had to get a third-party program to transcode the codec to one that I could use in HitFilms. Now, another fun aspect of the HEVC codec is you have to get a 99-cent download from Microsoft just to view it on your computer to know it's a video file. And there used to be another link you could get to for free, but of course that's been quashed. So yeah, you got to cough up $1 just to see it on your computer. Now, as I was mentioning, when I transcode the HEVC codec on my computer is an i7 core with 32 gigabytes of RAM, and it will crawl during the transcoding process. I can't even view anything in a browser at the same time. So I just leave it overnight and come back in the morning, and that's with a good computer. So bear that in mind. You may have to get or want to get some editing software that supports the HEVC codec to do this. The battery in the 10 is the same as the 9. Same size, voltage, amps, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think it lasts more than an hour or two from my experience. The other thing about these wonderful batteries with these blue tops, the 8, 9, and 10, is that they have a chip inside of them. And the chip is kind of like the chip in your car key. And it tells the GoPro, yeah, this is a genuine battery. Now, why is that important? Well, according to GoPro, it means that the battery is going to be powerful enough to run the higher functions of the camera, and it's to help you out. But if you don't have that chip in, you put in a less expensive battery you can buy somewhere else, it will disable certain functions in your camera. You can't use them. Now, like all GoPros, with their batteries don't last very long. If you want to run all day non-stop, you're going to have to use a battery pack. There's no getting around that. You're going to have a cord to do that. That means two things. That means you're going to have to buy an aftermarket door that has the hole that you can plug into, number one. And number two, you're going to lose your waterproof ability when you do that. But that's just a given. Now, when the GoPro 10 first came out and when I first bought it, the GoPro would heat up so hot after maybe 25 minutes, you couldn't even touch it. It would almost burn your fingers, and then it would shut down. GoPro decided their resolution to that would be to offer an update, and in the update all it does is it gives you some functions you can automatically turn off so that the camera isn't using as much power or doing what you want it to do to save battery. Really helpful, right? Reminds me of a Ford 2004 I had where it had a recall on the cruise control, and the answer Ford gave was to take it into the dealer and have them stick in a fusible link so that it just shut off. That was their fix. Well, in addition to that, they've also wonderfully, kindly offered you a $25 improved battery that you can order that really doesn't do that much better in my opinion, but it's supposed to work better in the cold and handle the overheating issue a lot better. Now, the annoying thing about these batteries, additionally, is that they have temperature sensors inside of them. So if the battery is too cold or too hot, the GoPro will say, we are shutting down because we're too hot, or it will say, we are turning off your screen because your battery is too cold. And then you don't know what's going on. Now, with the GoPro 8 and below, you can run your pass-through cord to your battery charger with a battery inside the unit, and it will charge it if it's not charged, or it will just ignore it and keep feeding the camera until your battery pack is dead, and then the battery in the camera will take over, which is the way, in my opinion, it should be, because you have to have this battery inside of it no matter what for the chip to tell it you can do what you want to do with your functioning without shutting off other functions you want to do. Now, these others, the 9 and the 10, are supposed to be pass-through capable without having to have the battery inside. On the 10 that I've been playing with, when I did the plug in to pass through with the battery in place, what happens is it will use up the battery, and when the battery's dead it will turn off, and then it will just start charging the battery. So you cannot run it off your battery pack with a battery inside of the 10. You have to remove the battery from the 10 to do that. And when you do that with your original software firmware, when you do that, what happens is it says the battery is too cold, we're shutting off the screen because there's no battery in it. And so you can't see what's going on, and it flashes and you think, oh, I'm recording. But then later on you get home, you're like, oh, where's all my footage? And it just doesn't exist because you didn't know. And I had that happen to me. So what I ended up doing is I ended up getting the latest and greatest update for it, and then I plugged in the pass-through again. Then I got this delightful message saying, your battery pack does not have enough amps to do this. We're shutting off right now. And I had 5 amps, and it takes 2.1 amps. So I know that was an issue because it wouldn't even do it. I couldn't even pass through anymore. And so I got on the internet and found some information that said you can revert to an earlier firmware that doesn't have this problem. But GoPro took that firmware off their site. But searching the internet, I was able to find a 2-point-something beta version somewhere. And what you have to do is download that, stick it in a folder, name the folder update, and drag that folder to your SD card, put it in your unit, turn it on, and it will update to that lower firmware. So the 2-point-something firmware beta is in here now. So I plugged it in, and no battery in it, turned it on, I could see the screen, I was filming, life was good. Except for 10-20 minutes later when I looked down and it just decides to turn itself off, which it did several times on my last trip, and lots of footage. So what do? Well, you go on the GoPro website and you look for the help me stuff, and there's this notice saying, oh, through the month of February we may not be able to help you with all problems because of this made up whatever. Sounds to me like they know there's a problem. They don't want to talk about it. They don't have a solution for it at this time. So this will not be my camera of choice for the time being unless they get the firmware issue resolved. So I'm going to stick with the 9, which is not here because, yes, I'm filming with it. And we'll see how that goes. But if there's any change, I will let you know. But for the moment, I would advise against purchasing a GoPro 10.